Hello and welcome to another edition of BrandsNow here on Radionow 95.3 FM Lagos. And here on BrandsNow, what we basically do is bring you inspiring conversations with business owners, business leaders, entrepreneurs and innovators who are shaping industries and solving real problems in Nigeria and beyond. I am your host and my name is George Natural Onwara. And today we are spotlighting a brand that is revolutionizing education financing in Nigeria. Just think about this. So how many brilliant students have found it difficult to actually stay in school, not because they don't want to stay in school, but because it's quite challenging paying school fees? I know I went through that, and I know a lot of people too probably are going through the same thing as well. Well, the gentleman in front of me has a solution to that. But just before we go on to, bring him into the conversation, yeah? What about parents? A lot of parents are going through cash crunch, very difficult situations trying to keep their kids in school. So the guest today is going to give us his own solutions to the issues that we've raised and other issues that he's looking to tackle. His name is Adedayo Adegoke. He's a technopreneur and the founder and CEO of Payskul. It's a platform that is redefining school fee financing and education insurance in Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you join us this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, so let's get into the meat of the matter already. I am curious. Payskul. What's the motivation behind it?
Okay, so Payskul, as the name connotes, right? Payment for every school-related finances, right? So basically, the inspiration was from the spotlight where we actually identified a couple of persons who happened to be dropouts at some point, of which I think at some point I was a victim of such back then while I was in primary school.
So it came from a place of pain. You understand
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this was born out of this, and having seen those who were victims of this circumstance as well, we felt, okay, there could be a tech platform where we can actually get to solve this problem. Apparently, where parents would actually be able to access some of these finances from, and then students can flexibly be able to achieve their academic goals without the fear or intimidation of being dropped out or being sent off school or not being able to write exams or achieve certain things as a result of financial setbacks. So basically, this was born out of passion from previous experiences and encounters with certain people who have had some of these financial setbacks meeting their academic goals.
It's interesting that you say that here. Now, we know school fees are a major challenge for a lot of students.
Right.
And not just students, by the way, parents too as well, because it's their responsibility to pay for schooling and whatnot, and all the other things that come with it, yeah? Now, so how does Payskul practically work to erase or maybe ease the burden on both the parents and the school? And what kind of financing is available through your platform?
Okay. So to answer that, primarily, right, we have built a platform, a technology platform, where parents or students, we understand that there are some students who are actually the ones fending for themselves and meeting their school finances on their own accord, right? So students will actually be able to navigate the application and then be able to make requests via this platform. And then rather than do the random peer-to-peer feed, which occurs with the regular loan sharks and the likes. So it would rather be business to business, whereas these funds are actually credited directly to the schools on behalf of such students. What does this imply? This means that there has to be some form of partnership with schools right? In as much as there are also some level of partnership with finance houses. So this is the bridge. This is where Payskul is coming in, where we will be able to connect them to the right finances to be able to meet these demands. So our partnership with the schools will actually help us to be able to validate that each individual coming through our platform are actually either enrolling students or active students of such schools. So that way, partnering with the school, we'll be able to get some pretty information from the school, which validates that, which is going to be automated on our system. And then once a parent or a student comes on our platform, to be able to make some checklists, to be able to at least make this request for either school fees. Now, the unique thing about Payskul is so that we are not just constrained to solving the school fees issues alone, right? We still have the likes of, we understand that sometimes students might also want to go for excursions. Student might want to purchase books. Student might want to get accommodation and a couple of back to school requirements, basically. So basically, they should be able to access this via the platform, via the application that is provided, and then your school gets credited directly. So in light of the partnership we also have with the finance institution, is to ensure that at least liquidity is provided to be able to meet these demands, because we know that the surge is going to be there. Understanding the economic situation of the country and beyond. So apparently we want to ensure that at least liquidity is very much available to be able to meet this. Hence why we partner with finance houses or banks to be able to ensure that they are able to at least service this demand for parents and students.
You know, there are two things you said that I want to piggyback on. One of them is that you deal with the schools, right? And so what if a situation arises where, for instance, my kid needs, say, school bags, provisions and whatnot, and you have to provide the financing, but the school doesn't sell those. So what then happens?
So basically, we are also looking at such because, of course, there are prospects as to the features that Payskul is actually going to be bringing on board over time. And one of those is that via our platform, we are going to be bringing in some vendors who actually make provisions for back to school requirements, such that if a parent or a student require this, you will be able to access this vendor on our platform. And then what we literally do is to give you provision on how to be able to meet the vendor, or the vendor will be able to help you get those requirements, and then you can have the flexibility of time to be able to make the payments instrumentally to Payskul. So, but basically, we are looking at, to be able to solve that and cope that, we're looking at partnering with some vendors who actually make provisions for back to school requirements. And then, of course, parents and students can be able to access that via our platform.
Very interesting solution there. But again, I'm curious here. Is there like a level that your funding actually gets to? For instance, say I want to fund a master's in the UK, for instance. Do you cover that?
So that's pretty much interesting, right? Because we've had calls, we've had messages, and tons of people reaching out as to they want to go study abroad and all of those things. So apparently, our goal in the long run is to ensure that those are also captured. While we're pilots, while we're launching the Nigerian market, there's going to be room for scaling and expansion. Apparently, those who are also going out for masters and the likes will be captured. But we have already made provisions and accommodations on our platform such that the funding that is going to be accessible is not going to be restricted to nursery, secondary, or primary or secondary school alone. We, as many students who also want to go to the university, or even if you want to do some professional courses, because we are in some level of talks with the likes of ICANN, with the likes of NIT. These are professional institutions that we believe that parents and students who actually want to get some of those professional services, and as long as it requires tuition, it requires some finances to be met, you can be able to flexibly access it via our platform. You'll be able to get the relief in finances to be able to meet your other demands, while Payskul is able to at least help you relieve the burden in financial with your school finances, and then you can meet up with your educational goals primarily.
Interesting. You know, all the while that you've been talking, one of the things that have been going through my mind is the issue of trust, because basically trust is a key factor here. Okay. So how do you ensure that, one, the people that you're dealing with have credit worthiness, that's
yes.
one, and then two, that they're actually going to repay the money, or
yes.
perhaps we are doing a woof.
So thank you so much for that. So I understand as well that in fact, in the Nigerian market, we have issues with credit checks and credit worthiness to be able to validate that certain people are actually eligible to actually access some of these finances. Mm-hmm. So while we start, we are optimistic to leveraging on the credit checks and the credit system that is obtainable by these finance houses mm-hmm. and these banks. So they are going to ensure that they do their checks such that they run necessary checks through their accounts and to be able to validate that these people have the capacity to repay back. Beyond that, of course, some who are indebted and have bad record with the likes of credit bureau, of course, they could also be faulted. So in the course of trying to access this, when the credit checks and validations are done, if you're faulted, apparently you will not be able to access this. But beyond this, Payskul is going to deep dive to ensure that over time, we critically look into how we can help those with poor credit scores, because we understand that some of these people, they are victim of circumstance. Some of them is not as though they could be defaulters or want to default on their own accord. But for certain reasons, they are not able to be financially capacitated to be able to meet that. So we're going to look at how we can bridge this over time, because the end goal is to ensure that parents who want to at least send their children to schools of their choices, or have challenges meeting up with their finances academically, regardless of your your profile. So you could be a low income earner, average, or on the high end, right? But at least we want to ensure that at least in the long run, everybody is able to access these finances. So on the interim, we're going to leverage on the credit checks and credit worthiness, accessibility that is available by the finance houses. But in the long run, we'll see how we bridge this to help those who have bad credit scores and have bad debt.
Very interesting submission here. Your organization is basically a fintech solution company, yeah?
Yes.
Could you walk us through the technology behind, what you do?
Okay. So it's not far-fetched, right? So pretty much, rather than leverage on the web app, it's not a web app-based platform. We might still have that pretty much later, but right now it's literally on the mobile application. So first we ensure that we onboard the school, and on the other hand, we ensure that we sensitize parents and students via the digital social avenues. And beyond that, we also leverage on the likes of Parents Teachers Association, that's the PTA, that goes on with the likes of primary and secondary schools. Also in the universities, for instance, just a few weeks back, we were at UNILAG to engage the Dean of Student Affairs. So we'll route that as well. And there are some other private universities, because apparently we are going to be dealing more with private and state universities. We leverage through the Parents Forum. We know that one of the universities, for instance, that we reached out to earlier, which is Anchor University, they have a Parents Forum. So without that, to try and ensure that we are able to penetrate. And then once that is done, we get necessary information as regards the parents or the students who require this. We automate it on our system. Mm-hmm. And then once a student tries to apply via the platform, there are a few checklists that you need to be able to attempt on our platform. So once you're able to fill that in, the system automatically should be able to at least match and validate that you're actually a student before going ahead to process your funding request to the bank, of which the bank then takes it up, or the finance house takes it up, to be able to do your credit check and do your KYC, to understand your person and to understand your accounts, and to know your capacity to be able to make repayments. And once those checks are done, then of course there is a 24 hours timeline to ensure that feedbacks are given to our respective customers. And once that is done, they either validate that you are eligible and your loan is accepted, or is rejected. So in that case, you will be able to know your position. And then once you accept it, we ensure that the payments are made directly to the school on your behalf, to be able to achieve your academic goals, continue your schooling without any intimidation or without any setback as regards being sent off school or being rusticated, as the case may be.
Very interesting submission. Now, you actually began your services in the year 2021, right?
Yes.
So I'm curious, what's been the reception like? How have the parents and the students that you served actually, basically accepted it?
So to walk you through and to walk you down the line, 2021, what actually happened, what actually transpired in 2021 was not the commencement of our operations, but rather it was 2021, we actually started strategizing. It was 2021, the idea was formed. It was 2021, we started putting the team together, putting the resources together, started bootstrapping, and started trying to put how this product is going to go live together. So from 2021, we went on to setting up our team. We went on to developing strategies and modules as to how the business operation is going to run. We went as far as trying to do some other further research into the edtech sector, of which it was during the course of this we actually discovered how decentralized the education data system is, of which we understand that this was decentralized. So apparently we had to get some information from different Ministry of Education in different states. So what were these information? Basically revolving around the schools that were obtainable within the states. So it wasn't centralized at a particular point. So we had to use our different means and strategies to be able to do this research, pull this data, and to be able to understand the behavioral pattern of the edtech space. And then also we took time to also understand the parents' needs and the students' needs as well, so that we could be able to incorporate this into what we were developing. We also happen to be beneficiaries of the likes of some cohorts at some point. Get Funded Africa, GFA, organized. We were one of the startups that was selected for their incubation sometime in 2022. Also in 2023, we were also selected for Venture EU Access Lab. This was organized by in partnership with Comerica Bank in US, as well as another huge institution in the African space. So, of course, amongst the startups that were selected across the globe, Payskul was one of them, and then we were able to get some insights as to capital accessibility, networking, mentorship, and we were able to get all of that to be able to at least help us position well as a startup and to be able to scale in the long run. So, going further, we also add the engagements of our tech individuals or tech persons in the system, as well as the understanding the needs of the parent and student to be able to integrate some features, such that at a point where we were in 1-2 schools, I can recall one of the teachers reached out to us and was telling us that even they themselves as teachers, they also need a facility like this because some of them have too many financial challenges, and some of them also have kids. So how can Payskul actually attend to them, not just the students alone? So apparently we have that in prospect, and these are part of the things we are going to solve over time, because we understand that the edtech space is a huge market.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but over time we also discovered that some other people too, in a bid to be able to relieve their financial stress, we also looked at a feature like Edu Insure, which is pretty much like education insurance, so that if you tap into such a feature, while your child is in secondary school, you by the time your child gets to the institution, you might not even have to pay a dime if you tap into such a feature, because what you would have insured within your child's stay in secondary school might be able to take care of that. Or if the child is in the university, what you will insure within the university timeline might literally help your child to be able to go for masters or PhD at whatever level, as the case may be. We also looked at the situation where parents actually try to migrate from one location to another location, and then they have a budget range of the school they want to send their child to.
Yeah.
So how will they be able to meet this? So via our platform, we are looking at a situation where we will be able to create for parents to be able to access the closest affordable school around them. So when you come on our platform, within your proximity, say you're living from Lagos to Abuja, or you're living from Lagos to Ghana, you should be able to see a couple of schools within your budget range via our platform and be able to send your child there. So basically, it's going to be a long ride for Payskul.
That's a lot of work.
Because yes, because we are going to house a huge database via our platform to be able to ensure we accommodate all these schools, all these parents, all these students, basically in the long run. But we are looking at how the platform is going to be encompassing to be able to take care of every financial needs relating to schools, relating to academic pipelines, just to be able to ensure that every child meets their academic dreams.
Interestingly, I've been listening to you and I'm like, this is a huge endeavor that you've embarked on,
Yes.
right? And I've heard you consistently talk about financial this, financial that, financial the other. And all of this costs money. How do you get funding for all of this? Or perhaps there is one bank somewhere that's just doing enough free cash for you. Talk to us about your challenges, but particularly funding, for instance.
Okay. So I think our major challenge revolved around how we were able to bootstrap to be able to get to this position where we had. Right. You know, sometimes it takes people to believe not just in your vision or in your idea, to also be able to believe in your person. To be able to say that, yes, you have this and you have the integrity to be able to deliver this. Right. So while I had some setbacks with individuals who were not keen in and were not able to support with finances to be able to scale this, I also had some individuals who are very senior persons in the industry. I might not be able to mention names now, but a good number of them, home and abroad, who understood my capacity to be able to deliver a product like this, understood what the challenges would be, and some of them were readily available to throw in some funding to see that part-time, while you guys are engaging, ensure that at least you guys are not having financial setbacks.
So you built social capital pretty much.
Exactly. Of course, because apparently I was out of job just to focus on this product. So it simply means that I was on full-time for Payskul. So where would my source of income have been if not for some individuals who actually saw the product as valid and be able to believe in me to be able to ensure they invest a little capital for me to be able to scale this. Of course, this was actually backed up with some of my investment I also had earlier from the previous workplace I had. So I was able to save up some things, of which I diverted these old funds into Payskul, trying to see that at least we are able to build these products and people can at least be able to access this. So this was able to go in there. And over time, as we also try to scale, we had some individuals who came in as angel investors to say, hey, Dio, give me a little equity. I'll be able to give you this little funding just for you to be able to keep up and for you to be able to scale up. So this came in from different sources, and finally, of course, we give some accord. We have a couple of directors currently on our board, and these persons played key roles to ensuring that we were not financially constrained, but rather we were financially capacitated to be able to move from point A to point B. Among the names are the likes of David Apenda, are the likes of Mr. Okechukwu, Ajagwa Igbo, and on the last that also came on board recently was the CEO of of TRW Stockbrokers Limited. So he was also one of the persons who actually backed this vision up. And trust me, he made us understand that in as much as we have this vision, as long as it's scalable, we will be able to get to our endpoint, and we will be able to at least see the resources at whatever length we needed from him just to be able to at least achieve this. Of course, this came in with some prizes from Payskul, but at the same time, they believed in the vision, they keyed into the vision, and they tried to ensure that at least we have the little resources, the financial resources, to be able to get to where we are today. Of course, talks are still ongoing with institutional investors, with VCs, to see how we can actually bring in more funding to be able to at least be able to cover our capital expenditures, which ranges from management expenses down to operational expenses, and even individuals that we can also reach. We're engaging them to see how we can access some capital from them, and then that way we will be able to a very large extent, scale the product appropriately, while we leverage on, of course, the partnership we have with finance houses to be able to provide the liquidity for the loans and the likes. But we believe that with time, more funding are going to be in for us to be able to at least meet more than enough demand over time.
Now, we're beginning to round off on the conversation here, but then there's another angle I'd like you to shed a little light on. Now, Payskul is not just about school fees, financing and whatnot. It's also about education insurance. Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about that. What's that about?
Okay. So basically, it's fueling your academic dreams, right? Revolves around that. So the education insurance, in light of what I explained, or what I touched based on that, the education insurance is going to help students who are actually at a certain level of their education. Say, for instance, they're in secondary school and they want to further to university. And apparently, by the time they get there, they don't know what their financial structure is going to look like prior to that time. So while they're in secondary school, they can start insuring, so that by the time they get to the university, they might not even have to pay a dime. What they have insured would be able to at least cover for that expense. Or if you're in the university and you want to further into, say you want to travel out for master, or you want to do a couple of other things, then of course what you have insured in the course of your being in the university will be able to take care of that. Or it could be professional services, right? So, and other features.
Yeah, but if my uncle promises to, support me in school, can he like set up an education insurance with you using your platform for me, so that
apparently, so that's the interesting thing about it, right? Because we have carved this niche, and we have customized features basically that meet some of these demands. So in a case like that, of course, he can come on board, meet us, and then we will literally just need to create an account through the insurance scheme for that purpose, and then be able to identify you on our platform as well. Remember, our system is going to house every student. We have to be able to at least validate that you're a student or an enrolling student. So apparently, we're going to have a couple of your information to validate that you're a student. So while that scheme is there, of course, the system is actually going to be able to capture that this is the insurance going in for this particular student, such that if, for instance, there are some unforeseen circumstances or fortunate situation along the line, of course, we already identify you as a student and as a potential student for that insurance. By the time you get there, you will be able to at least take that up and be able to get your funding and be able to achieve your academic goals. 5
to 10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
Being a unicorn. Beyond that, apparently, seeing that
in layman's English, a unicorn is, I know what it is, but then you tell us.
So basically, a multi-billion-dollar company. Right. So apparently, we should at least be able to have expanded to a couple of regions, to a couple of states, to a couple of countries across the globe. We have currently, as I'm speaking to you, we have messages from Indonesia, we have messages from Kenya, a couple of countries that they are looking at Payskul being expanded to, and even some of the investors coming on board Payskul pretty soon. They are currently looking at closing some deals for us in some of the Caribbean countries. So apparently, 5 years from now, we are looking at how we should have been able to expand to some of these countries and be able to at least scale this product to the betterment of every student and every parent, and be able to enrich the academic pipeline to ensure that they are all serviced and every dream is fulfilled.
And a final note, maybe
right.
1 or 2 sentences. What would be your message to a budding entrepreneur in Nigeria struggling to find footing like you have?
So I think on that note, I'm just going to say consistency. Key into consistency, perseverance, regardless of the circumstances around you, the cost of you building and the cost of you trying to develop the product. Believe in yourself. Understand that some of these constraints are going to come, but just keep at it. Keep up with the vision. Take it a step after the other. Ensure that at least you are nailing something and achieving something on day-to-day basis, and to ensuring that your goal is actually fulfilled. So just don't give up, regardless of whatever shortcomings are there and whatever feedbacks you're getting here and there. Ensure that you stick to the goal and you walk towards the goal.
All right. Adedayo Adegoke. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the conversation on BrandsNow today. It's been an amazing pleasure sharing and listening to your journey, yeah? But for those who probably want to get across to you, how should they reach you? You know, maybe your phone number, your social media handles, or website or something. Maybe all.
Okay. So our social media platforms are very much available. We are on Instagram. We are on X, Twitter, from our Twitter. We are on Facebook. We are on Thread. And we are very much active on LinkedIn as well. Beyond that, we also have a website, necessary information as regards reaching out.
Yeah, it would be good if you can drop the handle.
Okay. So
media.
Payskul Hub is pretty much.
It would be great if you can spell it so that they don't.
Payskulapp. So that's Payskul Hub. And that's where you will be able to access us via our social media platforms. And then www.payskul.com or www.payskul.ng. And you will be able to access our website there and be able to get some information. And of course, you can contact us and reach us directly from there, because some contact numbers are there. And also email addresses are available there for you to be able to reach us.
If, as a typical Nigerian that I am,
yes.
I want to call you. So, how do I get across? Is there a phone number I can reach?
Okay. I know how overwhelming it could be sometimes. That's why I drop in numbers sometimes. I understand. But regardless, I think my hotline is 090 78 48 5242. That's my hotline. I can always be reached at that number at any point in time. And for my email address, dayo@payskul.com. DAYO @payskul, PAYSKUL.com. I will definitely get your mails there, and I will respond as quick as I can.
Once again, we've been speaking to Adedayo Adegoke, who's a technopreneur and founder and CEO of Payskul, a platform that is redefining school fee financing and education insurance in Nigeria. Well, that's our show for today on this edition of BrandsNow. If you enjoyed the conversation, stay tuned for more inspiring stories with, business leaders and innovators here on Radionow 95.3 FM. And yes, you can listen to us online from anywhere in the world. Just go to www.thisisradionow.com. Click on the Listen Live button and you'll take us with you anywhere you go. On social media, we're at Radionow 953 FM, at Radionow 953 FM everywhere, except for Facebook, where it's www.facebook.com/thisisradionow.